Alright everybody, it's that time of month. It's time for me to take all of the cool, shorter, but definitely worth talking about cases that I've come across recently and compile them all into one video. So let's get started. So here we have, woman known for casting spells caught with cooked human body parts in her home. One day, a man in Kentucky had been hired to work on a home out in Mount Olivet. Oddly enough, he arrived on scene and couldn't find the homeowner who was supposed to be there. What he did find, though, was a dismembered human body in the backyard. He thought that this very well might be the body of the person he was looking for and called the police. The police quickly made their way out to the home and saw what the worker had seen, a woman's body on top of a stained mattress in the yard. They then approached the home to find a second disgusting mattress that looked like it had been dragged to the back of the home, leaving streaks all the way. This was indeed the body of the homeowner, Trudy Fields. The police came to find that there was a woman that was still inside the house. However, she refused to speak to them or even acknowledge them, let alone open the door. So the cops backed up and secured a perimeter while backup arrived. Getting a search warrant was a pretty speedy task. They found a 32-year-old woman, Torilena Fields, alone in the house. This was the real name of an actress/influencer who went by the name of Naomi Navarre, who had over 154,000 followers on Instagram. She had appeared in the 2019 films The Desert Project and A Dance Story. However, it seems that she was in a motorcycle accident and suffered some sort of traumatic head injury. After that, she completely changed. It seems that she chose to return to her childhood home, where she came across the victim. They gave her multiple orders to leave, but she completely refused to comply. She had blood on her hands, face, and clothing. The cops moved into the kitchen to find a stainless steel pot containing human body parts cooking in the oven. They threw the cuffs on her and dragged her out of the home without much incident. The worker who originally called the police recognized her as a crazy lady that had been attempting to cast spells on his crew over the past couple of days. The police, continuing to investigate, found more body parts that had been removed from the body outside, stuffed inside of a mattress. The police later confirmed that the legs, arms, and head had all been removed from the body, along with various organs. Torilena was first hit with charges of obstructing governmental operations, tampering with physical evidence, and abuse of a corpse. The grand jury added charges of murder and animal torture after it came out that she had allegedly tortured and killed a dog. Afterwards, her bond was set at $1.5 million. For now, she's being held at the Bourbon County Detention Center. Whether or not she'll even be competent for a trial is unclear, but pretty debatable. Now we have, man poisoned wife's Coca-Cola so he could marry her daughter. In Indianapolis lived a seemingly pretty normal husband and wife. However, the wife did start having some issues back in 2021. A whole lot of her personal items had been gone missing, little by little over time, so she took to the police to help find out what was going on. Not only that, but there were several occasions where she felt like she might be drugged as well, also going to the police with those concerns. However, for quite a while, not much was really done about it. Things got so bad that the wife ended up in the hospital over 6 times, each time having a bad case of headaches, drowsiness, and diarrhea, along with many other symptoms. At the hospital, she tested positive for MDMA, cocaine, and benzodiazepines. This was immediately strange as she knew she had never taken any of those drugs, but it's safe to say that the hospital staff didn't really believe her all too much. However, things got even more strange when her husband, 71-year-old Alfred W. Ruff, began to feel guilty and, upon being questioned, decided to confess to her that he had been the one poisoning her all this time. He said that he was doing so in order to sleep with her daughter and her daughter's friend. The police were called and came to find that, indeed, he had been poisoning her. They found a pill bottle full of suspicious white powder and a can of Coke with such residue around the edges. The wife was taken to the hospital again, while Alfred was taken down to the police station. He immediately confessed to the crime. He said that he was having sex with his wife's daughter and she had given him the powder. When he gave it to his wife, she would fall asleep for around 13 hours at a time. He had hoped that it would eventually kill her. Each time his wife crashed, the daughter and her friend would come over to give Alfred a happy time. The friend would routinely steal the wife's belongings before leaving. Apparently, the daughter urged Alfred to get rid of her mom so that she could get the life insurance and blow it all. The police said, Ruff stated that he knew the substance would eventually kill his wife, and that it was their ultimate goal to kill her. Alfred ended up going to trial where he pled guilty to aggravated battery posing a risk of death, which is a level 3 felony. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison and 5 months of probation. For a while, the police continued to investigate both the daughter and her friend, but ever since then, no more arrests have been made. It appears that he had poisoned his wife's drink around 12 times. It seems that Alfred is going to take the bulk of the punishment. It's unclear how strained the mother-daughter relationship is at this point, but it can't be doing all that well. This one is titled, Kentucky Judge Randomly Shot in His Chambers by the Sheriff. Back in Kentucky once more, we have a strange case involving a judge, Judge Kevin Mullins. Kevin had been an attorney for over 9 years before finally being appointed by the governor in 2009. He mainly focused on drug-related offenses, giving him access to quite a number of druggies over the years. It seemed that he did this in a good way, though, getting recognition for trying to treat addicts rather than simply lock them up. He started a program that allowed addicts to get inpatient treatment as a condition of release. An associate of Kevin was the local sheriff, Sheriff Mickey Steins. He had been elected the sheriff of Letcher County in 2018 and once again in 2022. Both he and Kevin knew each other very well, even going out to eat lunch together on many occasions. However, on the afternoon of September 19th, 2024, it appears that Mickey got into an argument with Kevin in the judge's chambers. It isn't quite known what they fought about. However, on camera it was seen that Mickey first called his daughter, then again called her from Kevin's phone. It has been said that there was no reason to believe that Kevin had any previous contact with his daughter, though. For whatever reason, Mickey pulled out his gun and aimed it at his old friend. He fired at him repeatedly as Kevin tried to hide behind his desk, but he was done for. Mickey simply exited the judge's chambers and walked out onto the street as a SWAT team rushed up to the courthouse, thinking that there was still some sort of active shooter. Investigators noted that the sheriff seemed oddly calm, never once even unholstering his gun. The medical team arrived and found Kevin Mullins lying on the ground with multiple gunshot wounds. They attempted to revive him several times, but it just couldn't be done. He was pronounced dead on the scene by the coroner's office. It wasn't too long before the investigators were able to get the security camera footage and find that Mickey Steins had clearly shot the victim in plain view. They took him into custody without incident immediately after. While they were taking him away, Mickey said something that still has the investigators confused to this day. "They are trying to kidnap my wife and kid." When they asked him to elaborate, he didn't. Mickey then went on to retire from his job as sheriff, claiming that he is not guilty in the murder. However, he is facing a charge of first-degree murder that he isn't likely to get out of. While the police aren't really too sure what the two were fighting about, they do have a bit of a hint. Just 3 days before the shooting, Mickey had given a deposition in relation to a crime that had occurred previously. One of the sheriff's deputies had coerced a drug-addicted woman into sleeping with him in order to remove her ankle monitor. The woman said that it wasn't so much of a choice as it was an order, with the assault taking place right in those very same judge's chambers. That deputy has pled guilty to the crime, while Mickey has claimed zero knowledge of the entire incident. Mickey took over 10 breaks during the deposition, seeming extremely frazzled. When he was asked if he gave the deputy permission to use the tools related to ankle monitors, he told them, "I don't recall. I'm having an episode. Sorry." While it's unclear if this is related to the shooting, it's really the only lead they have at the moment. This one's a doozy. Chinese man poisons neighbors after they tease him for being single at 39. On September 11th in Tianjin City in China, a local resident called the police after they started having a pretty catastrophic nosebleed after eating some snacks. When the police came out and started to investigate, they found that the snack had been laced with a whole lot of rat poison. It wasn't all too long before they started getting very similar reports from other people living in the nearby area. Once the police found where the snacks had been being picked up, everything led back to a man named Wang. It seems that Wang had been buying rat poison from a local store, putting it into a syringe, and then injecting it into all sorts of food at the supermarket near his home where he worked. He had done this multiple times, seemingly. Once the police began to interrogate him, Wang fully admitted to doing what he did. He said that it was done as payback because the local people in his area would often poke fun at him for still being unmarried at the age of 39. The local Public Security Bureau announced that Wang had been formally arrested on multiple allegations of poisoning. All of the contaminated food was sealed away and recalled. All of the people who were poisoned were fine, only suffering from the nosebleeds and nausea previously. Time will tell whether or not Wang is going to be put away for a long time, but given that this is the CCP, we may never know. And now we've got Panera bread worker bashes customer with bread pan after he assaults patrons. A local Panera Bread in the city of Glendale, a town about 5 miles out of Denver, was thrown into complete chaos as a crazy man entered into the establishment. He entered into the restaurant before loudly screeching, screaming, and pushing items off of the restaurant's counter, demanding that the workers there return his phone. The workers hadn't found any sort of phone though, leaving them very confused. They've simply, calmly told him, "We don't have your phone." Customers in line also tried to get this man to leave, but it only made him that much angrier. The man, Isaac Ross, only started to screech more, this time shouting racial slurs as well. The customers then screamed, "No one has your phone," as he continued to scramble around the store. Isaac then moved back to the counter, picked up some items still left there, and started throwing them at the staff. One of the customers came up behind Isaac and tried to push him away from the counter, but that was a bad idea as Isaac lashed out and knocked him to the ground. He then attempted to pummel the man on the ground, landing about one good slap before another customer tackled him to the ground and wrestled him to the floor. He tried to hold Isaac down until something could be done. Then, a Panera Bread employee came out from the back room with a large bread pan and began to beat Isaac over the head with it while the customer held him restrained. Once it was clear that people were calling the police, Isaac broke free and fled from the restaurant. However, it seems that he once again returned to Panera Bread and had the same sort of violent temper tantrum all over again. During the second attack, Isaac actually attacked someone that the police described as an at-risk male victim who needed to go to the hospital to be treated for minor injuries. The problem is, nobody can find this guy now, as of the making of this video. The police are looking for anyone with any information about Isaac's whereabouts to come forward. They have said that Isaac also tends to go by Kendall Ross as well. Hopefully they'll end up wrangling him. This one is, Heroic monkeys stop man from assaulting 6-year-old girl. So, out in a town near New Delhi in India, a man was seen talking to a 6-year-old girl on CCTV footage. He then took the girl by the arm and proceeded to drag her away into an abandoned house. This is where he removed her clothes and began to put his hands on her. That is, until he was interrupted. As it seems, a large group of monkeys had seen the man kidnapping the girl and, when they saw him assaulting her, they decided to save her. The whole pack of monkeys pounced the man at once, beating him and scratching him until he was so scared that he fled the scene, leaving the girl completely uninjured in the end. The girl ran home to her family and told them the story of the heroic monkeys who had saved her from the kidnapper. Her parents then contacted the police, telling them what had happened. The father later said, "My daughter was playing outside when the accused took her away. The man could be seen in nearby CCTV footage, walking on a narrow lane with my daughter. He has yet to be identified, though. He also threatened my child that he would kill me. My daughter would have been dead by now if the monkeys had not intervened." The local police are still investigating, saying that the suspect has neither been caught or even identified. This is after a good number of high-profile rape cases in the country had taken place within only a few weeks just recently. The perpetrator in this case has been charged under what is called the POSCO Act, but he still hasn't been identified. If he is found, though, he's got a pre-prepared list of charges against him. The monkeys have gone back on patrol. And this one reads as, "Man had himself delivered in a box to his ex-girlfriend's house." A couple out in the Netherlands had been having trouble for a little while since they ended their 1-year-long relationship. This is because, after the two split, the boyfriend had broken into her house, stolen her car keys and some other items, and even placed a GPS tracker in her home. This all accumulated when he decided to take things in a very strange new direction. It seems that the man put himself into a box and had himself sent to her home. When she took the box inside, the man popped straight out of it, aiming a gun at her. He then grabbed her keys and ran out of the home once again. He then began to create a whole bunch of new emails to bother her and even made some social media accounts in her name. It goes without saying that the guy was arrested. He told the police that his personal delivery was, in his own words, the only way he could get in and get his stuff back. He said that he was given permission to come out to her house all of those other times. However, the judge didn't really believe him given the circumstances. The man was found guilty of stalking and sentenced to 4 months in prison. He has also been given a restraining order that, hopefully, will prevent him from talking to the woman for at least 3 years. And here's a doozy. Piss bandit taunts locals with urine bottles labeled HIV positive. So out in some wealthier areas in Pasadena, California, we have the tale of a mystery man who is only known as the Piss Bandit. Every few days, he decides to spread some of his piss bliss, leaving some bottles of his golden grime all over these neighborhoods. He'll put them on top of anything, like mailboxes or on fences, but he tends to love putting them on one certain utility box. He will fill soda bottles, juice cartons, and even full-on gallon milk jugs with his luscious lemonade. However, one thing that he does to make his specific pee bottles stand out in the lovely state of California is by writing both human urine and HIV positive on them, usually with scribbles and crudely drawn smiley faces here and there as well. Sometimes residents will wake up several times in a single week with these bottles all over the place. In fact, it happens so often that a lot of the utility boxes have round, burned-in rings where the bottles were placed. He does not use coasters. After a while, the city even gave one utility box a pointed, triangular cover in order to prevent things from being left on top of it. However, the Piss Bandit simply broke it and tore it off and placed his bottles down once more. While people online have found entertainment in this, those who live in this wealthy, top-notch neighborhood aren't having so much fun with it. In response to people calling him an artist, one homeowner said, "I found it disgusting. Never did I ever consider it an art form in any way, shape, or form." Another resident left a note for the penile poet, stating, "If I catch you leaving your piss here, I will make you drink every last drop. You have been warned." Some people have tried staking out the area to no avail. When they placed a camera facing PB's favorite utility box one night, all they really saw was a gloved hand reaching over the fence and placing the bottles in the usual spot. Oh, and he stole the camera just to send pictures to the owner's cloud account and taunt them. They left a camera again there with an intercom function, hoping to be able to talk to him, but he also stole that one too, so they gave up. As for now, this particular bandit has not been caught. He'd be right at home with the penis man. And this one is, Wisconsin woman broke into home to cook shrimp and pasta dinner. A woman in Wisconsin named Joanna Kelly Lee broke into a home one night when she was feeling particularly hungry. She went over to the kitchen, rummaged around, and picked up some ingredients. She then began to prepare her meal of choice, shrimp and pasta. However, it was then that the owner of the home returned and found someone inside with all the lights on. They slipped back outside and called the police. The police met up with them there, only to go inside and find Joanna making herself comfortable and eating her dinner. She greeted the police, saying that she knew the owner of the home, who she was able to mention by name, and said that she had permission to be there. The police said, Lee provided a detailed story about how she met the resident at a coffee shop earlier and had been given keys to the house. Lee had been in the house long enough to cook herself a shrimp and pasta dinner. But little did she know, the owner of the home was there to tell the police directly that Joanna had never been given permission to enter the home, saying that she was a complete stranger. It appears that Joanna found the homeowner's name by digging through their mail while lounging around the house. Joanna was arrested and charged with both burglary and criminal trespassing. She was thrown into the Dane County Jail in Madison, Wisconsin. And, wow. Man fatally injured himself trying to separate frozen burgers. In a story that is both parts pretty sad and bizarre, we have the story of a man who was living mostly as a shut-in. Living out in the UK, 57-year-old Barry Griffiths didn't really socialize too much. He lived alone and mainly kept to himself, leading to nobody really hearing from him that often at all. One day, Barry decided to help himself to some frozen burgers. But the burgers were so frozen together that he simply couldn't pry them apart himself. He went over to the kitchen drawers and whipped out a large knife. He then tried to use it to pull the burger patties apart, with the blade facing him. He slipped and plunged the knife straight into his own stomach. Rather than call anyone, though, he simply went to bed and lied down. It was here that, eventually, he passed away. After nobody saw him leave the house for days, the police were called to perform a welfare check. At first, they were just extremely confused. They simply found Barry in bed, fully clothed, with a stab wound. His wallet, computer, and all of his valuables were completely untouched. There was no sign that anyone had broken in either. It wasn't until they found the now thawed-out burger patties along with the knife that they put the pieces of the puzzle together. The investigator said, "The bottom drawer of the freezer had been left open and pulled forward in a position to access food items. On the work surface in the kitchen adjacent to the fridge freezer were 2 uncooked burgers, a knife, and a tea towel. The wound to the abdomen would have been approximately the height of the work surface. My hypothesis at that stage was that Mr. Griffiths was attempting to separate frozen burgers using a knife." The medical examiner eventually ruled that Barry had indeed died from an accident and that this was not intentional. And here's one of the bonus stories. Drunk raccoons are taking over Germany. Now we have one of those good old bonus stories. While it is a crime, it's a crime that wasn't really committed by humans, so it's in a little bit of a gray area. While raccoons aren't a native species to Germany, they found their way into the country and multiplied endlessly over the past 100 years. Now the country has several 100,000 of them, and they're all very thirsty. In a lot of countries, raccoons are called wash bears because they like to wash their food before eating it. Well, these raccoons have found the liquid that they prefer to use: beer. They have been breaking into countless homes, injuring household pets, and stealing food and beer. They even dig into garbage cans just to take out beer bottles and drink the remaining liquid inside. They have really taken a liking to the drink. Now, though, they have a problem with finding drunken raccoons all over the place. Even in the Christmas markets in Erfurt, drunken raccoons were caught stealing wine from cups that had been abandoned and drinking themselves stupid. One of them took a woman's shoes, played with them for a while, and then passed out drunk on a doorstep. The police confirmed that they did not have to use a breathalyzer as the animal was clearly very drunk. Now people are trying to hunt the raccoons to get their numbers back down. However, it seems that the drunken bastards are here to stay. Once again, thank you for watching my video. If you found it interesting, please give it a like, it really helps me out in the algorithm, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Just recently, I've started up a podcast with a few of my friends called the NBR Podcast. If you like this content, you might find that interesting as well. I've also recently opened up a merch store. There you can get yourself some cool Dire Trip t-shirts, mugs, and all sorts of other stuff. If you want, go ahead and follow me on social media, that's really cool. I also really appreciate when people follow me on Patreon. There you can get videos early, ad-free, and uncensored. Channel memberships are up too, and you can get the same benefits there as well. Once again, this has been your host Kyle. Thank you, and good night.